In the words of Mufasa, everything the light touches belongs to us. Disney took this quote to heart, as they waited like an ambush predator for George Lucas to screw up worse than his History Channel the movie, as he crept out of the foliage with a false sense of security. Disney leapt up and pounced on poor old Georgie with an offer he could not refuse. "Give us Star Wars, haha," Mickey said. "We will make everyone forget about Indiana Jones and Refrigerator, haha." George took this offer, but at what cost? True to their words, they took the biggest dump on Star Wars and its community, which has been going strong for 40 years. And no one remembers the Indiana Jones fluke anymore until I've just mentioned it right now. During this time, gamers across the globe and far far away were hyped up for the newest LucasArts installment, 1313. The game which tried to fill the void in the soul that Uncharted left, which Tomb Raider failed to fill. It got axed, and we found a new hope in Project Ragtag, which also had one of the Uncharted guys behind it.
Day by day with the comics, the films, the games, you name it, and to be a part of that and to work with Lucasfilm is incredibly exciting.
And it got axed as well. Then EA made a Star Wars gambling game called Battlefront 2, and one controversy led to another, and suddenly Star Wars Fallen Order came to be. The game starts with a soothing song sung by a guy getting choked, and you're introduced to the main protagonist, Cal, the junkyard skyman boy. You jump about, and I legit got stuck for like 50 minutes because I'm blind as a bat and I couldn't see the rope. Cal and his pal finds a Jedi fighter ship, and everything takes a turn for the worse when his friend is about to fall to his death, and Cal is forced to use the Force. This obviously got recorded and uploaded on SithTube.com. Soon the Empire came knocking on the scrapyard's door, and Prof, Cal's mate, repays Cal for saving his life by dying within the same 24 hours. Cal then fights and scurries away and gets rescued by a former Jedi Knight. They go off on a limb and sends Cal to a planet where he befriends a robot called BD-1, who totally Obi-Wan You're My Only Hopes Cal, with a promise of a list of every Force-sensitive child in the galaxy, and it's up to you to find the pieces of this puzzle and keep the list away from the Empire. The story takes place 5 years after the ending of Star Wars The Third Gatherings, Backstroke of the West, right before the only good Disney Star Wars movie, Rogue One. I gotta say, I always found it a little bit weird with the prequels, and how the technology gets more advanced backwards in time. In the original Star Wars movies, the most sophisticated robots went boop 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 and oh my! And the peak advanced shit any of those robots ever did was shooting out Luke's lightsaber like a peg dispenser once, while BD-1 can climb onto other robots' faces and make love to them until they get possessed and think Cal is friendly. That's beside the point. I'd rather have an overpowered skinny Wall-E than Superman presses Leia or knee-slapping comedian Luke Skywalker. In Disney's purge of everything pure and canon, they just went fuck these little virgins and said everything besides the movies aren't canon, and then took a lot of stuff that was canon before and implemented them into the movies, but changed it up from being well thought of to a shell of its former self, like Snoke for example, or the Jedi Academy. But somehow, this game, despite everything, is apparently canon. This is great news because the story isn't dog shit, and with BD-1 it has this good classical Disney feel, even with a relatively dark theme about a Padawan who barely survived the Order 66 and isn't connected to the Force anymore. This proves to be a beacon of a hope, and that's something I liked with the direction of the story, since he has been hiding for so long after just being a Padawan. He can't do much with the Force anymore, and throughout the game he only learns the basic like pull and push. So how come they made Rey play Tetris with a collapsed mountain after a few weeks of swinging the lightsaber against a rock? No, this is the review of the Fallen Order, and not the childhood-destroying abomination. The setting of the game is just amazing. The game is split up into different planets, which act like stages. I won't spoil how many it is, but each of them differs from each other. The only negative with the structure, in my opinion, and I know some of you might like this, for whatever sadistic nostalgic reason, but it burns a lot of backtracking. On almost every planet you go from one point to another and then back again, and later you have to go to a different point but on the same path. But the counterweight is, they give you some amazing visuals and wildlife, like in Kashyyyk, where you see this injured birdie and you're like, ooh, I need to help this little baby boy. So you stab it with the green, and the birdie flies away and bye bye birdie. Later birdie come back and hello birdie, oh no, birdie died. The gameplay is basically described as Souls-like, and I'm both sick and tired of that term and sick and tired of games like this. I know that is about patience and learning moveset of the enemies, but when every single fight consists of 90% waiting, then it's not fun for me anymore. Sorry, but that's me. And before any of you guys go like, oh, you casual, just get good. Why you only want to get rewarded and put any work in? I've played Souls games ever since Demon Souls, which almost none of you Souls-like bandwagon riders haven't even heard of. So I win, because I still have nightmares of the spinning skeletons and Cthulhu with a bell. This is the main reason why it took me so long to finish the game, because the game never captured me in the first act. It took me weeks to actually pick it up again and finish it. This is the direct result of what I said earlier about backtracking, which, as it doesn't really make sense in the Star Wars universe, has the same bonfire mechanic, where every time you rest, enemies respawn, which makes backtracking a pain in the ass for me. However, despite all that, the game is fun as heck, man. The boss fights are amazing and challenging, and not in a bullet spongy way. They are all different, and you can be able to beat them on the first try, if you adapt quickly enough. So there's fewer retries like in the other games similar to this. Once I got into it, I got really into it. It does fulfill some of the childhood dreams from when I played Jedi Outcast and whatnot, and thought, oh, I wish I could do this particular thing. And in this game, it has a segment where you do this particular thing. Also, the new skills that you level up on actually matters and will help you a lot along the way. And everything is useful, so you don't need to spend so much time to think about it. Just follow your heart. So with that said, if you're like me and you start puking by the thought of another Souls game, stick by this one, because it's worth it. Give it not just one chance, but a couple of chances, and you will thank me later. If you like Souls game, which is fine, I don't judge you for that, then you will also love it. It is just an all-around good game. The music in the game is just Star Wars, you know, with a bit of Mongolian throat singing for some reason, which I genuinely like ever since I heard about The Who. There's nothing more that needs to be said about this. Everything just puts you into the universe seamlessly right from the start with the visuals, the music and the atmosphere. In conclusion, this game is finally a breath of fresh air. It's finally a good Star Wars game, which we have waited a long time for. It's finally a good Star Wars story, which we have waited a long time for. It finally features Mongolian throat singing, which we didn't wait a long time for, but we should have waited a long time for. The good stuff about the game is that it has a good story, cool progressive features, the new skills are actually useful and game changing, great visuals, good old Disney feel, Star Wars music, and both casual and intermediate Souls friendly. The bad stuff is the game takes a little time to fully entrap the player, the relentless backtracking with respawned enemies, and somewhat spammy enemies in very particular cases. I give this Beacon of Hope a rating of 8 out of 10. And may the force be with you. And please don't ruin shit anymore, Mickey Mouse. Thank you.